The direction of Pokrovsk, Donetsk Region, was once again transformed into a stage of destruction after the Ukrainian 414th Brigade, Magyar Birds, launched an incredibly precise and relentless air campaign. In released footage, the 414th Ukrainian Brigade Magyar Birds demonstrates how Ukrainian Kamikaze drone technology has taken over the skies, transforming them into a deadly weapon of destruction against Russian infantry concentrations on the snowy battlefield. From the aerial camera's perspective, the Ukrainian Kamikaze drone hovers silently. Beneath it, the battlefield appears quiet, but only for a moment, and those will be the last seconds for the Russian infantry. On the ground, Russian infantry groups were seen massed, attempting to reorganize, taking cover in hollows, open paths, and other makeshift shelters, unaware that every step, every pause was being monitored in real time by patient and well-trained Ukrainian drone operators. The attack began with a single kamikaze drone descending sharply, striking the center of the crowd. A loud explosion shattered the enemy formation, followed by a plume of smoke that signaled the end of one infantry group. Without a moment to breathe, the next drone immediately descended on the same area, destroying any remaining troops attempting to disperse or flee. Following footage reveals a clearly coordinated operational pattern: reconnaissance, target lock, precision strike, evaluation, repeat. No shots were wasted. Each drone was launched with careful calculation, targeting the point where maximum damage could be achieved. Several groups of Russian infantry attempted to move quickly, fleeing from open areas, but this only made them even more visible. From the skies, the Magyar Birds drones followed their every movement, then swooped down at high speed, obliterating one enemy group after another, leaving behind a field littered with explosions and traces of destruction. The footage shows this attack unfolding repeatedly, showing dozens of Russian infantry groups being systematically obliterated. There was no close-quarters combat, no opportunity for counterattack, just absolute dominance from the air. The drone's buzzing became the most terrifying sound in the Pokrovsk area, signaling that escape was nearly impossible. This operation reaffirmed the strategic role of the 414th Magyar Birds Brigade as the spearhead of Ukraine's drone war. With superior reconnaissance, operator coordination, and the efficient use of kamikaze drones, they turned enemy troop concentrations into easy targets. This operation reaffirmed the reputation of the Magyar Birds as one of the most effective drone units in the Ukrainian armed forces. The terrain around Pokrovsk turned into a hunting ground, where the drone's buzzing signaled the inevitable end. At the same time, Ukraine is fielding over 40 ground drone models this year, while Russia, hemorrhaging vehicles, sends soldiers on horseback against machines with thermal sensors. Here, Ukraine just completed an operation where a ground drone held a position for weeks, implementing innovative technologies for full frontline rotations aimed at replacing infantry. On the other hand, Russia has introduced an outdated tactic and reintroduced cavalry, with soldiers riding horses to attack Ukrainians over open fields. This contrast was laid bare as Ukraine's Third Army Corps continued scaling robotic warfare, demonstrating that ground drones are not only for assaults, but can also hold defensive lines for extended periods. One striking example came when a DevDroid ground robot was equipped with a 12.7mm Browning M2 machine gun. For 45 consecutive days, the robot held a frontline position instead of infantry, suppressing enemy movement and repelling assaults without a single Ukrainian casualty. From unmanned assaults, drone holds operated remotely from cover and equipped with thermal vision, the system detected Russian movements in complete darkness, turning night assaults into one-sided engagements where attackers stood no chance. Ukraine's shift toward unmanned warfare is a continuous evolution, and as you may remember, the 3rd Army Corps carried out the world's first fully unmanned assault in July. FPV Kamikaze drones shattered Russian fortifications, after which ground drones carrying explosives moved in to finish the job, all without a single Ukrainian infantryman entering the battlefield. In another case, surviving Russian soldiers, overwhelmed by the pressure, surrendered directly to the drones and were remotely escorted to Ukrainian lines as prisoners of war. Such operations are sustained by an efficient, decentralized system, with Ukrainian drones remotely controlled from bunkers or armored vehicles and operating in close coordination with aerial drones that scout, jam, and strike targets. However, Russia now revives cavalry on Pokrovsk front. While Ukraine is moving forward technologically, Russia is moving backward. On the Pokrovsk front, where Moscow has concentrated the highest number of soldiers and some of its most capable units, Ukrainian soldiers from the 92nd Separate Assault Brigade documented Russian troops advancing on horseback. The first time they were spotted, the Ukrainian operators had no idea what to do and had no choice but to, unfortunately, hit both the rider and the horse. However, immediately afterwards, Ukrainian operators devised and shared a plan that was soon realized, when they deliberately frightened the horses with flybys, causing them to bolt and throw their riders, before neutralizing the dismounted soldiers while sparing the animals. More footage confirms that Russian forces are increasingly using horses in assaults, a tactic unseen on European battlefields for more than a century. This return of cavalry is not symbolic, but driven by necessity, as Russian losses in vehicles and armored transport have been so severe that even elite units are forced to rely on animals to move troops and supplies. Yet, against drones equipped with thermal sensors and precision munitions, the clash is brutally uneven, and the Russian command appears willing to repeat these futile attacks regardless of the cost. The contrast between the two armies could not be clearer, with Ukraine using drones to solve its manpower challenge by deliberately building a force where technology absorbs risk and preserves lives, as shown by the recruitment of 10,000 new drone operators in less than a month under Magyar's leadership, while Russia lacks any real way to compensate for its losses and instead falls back on attrition, improvisation, and tactics pulled from the past. The battle between robots and cavalry starkly illustrates two fundamentally different visions of warfare unfolding on the same battlefield. Overall, Ukraine is deliberately shaping an army of the future, accelerating innovation with more than 40 domestically produced ground drone models authorized for use this year alone, and integrating them into both offensive and defensive operations. These systems absorb risk, hold ground, and save lives, while Russia, by contrast, is trapped in a spiral of degradation, intensifying catastrophic losses by throwing men, and now even horses, into combat